We need to talk about another machine that you're going to be using a lot of, and that's the Overlock Machine. That's what we have here. An overlock machine clean finishes the raw edges by trimming off any frayed edge and stitching around it so that it doesn't fray any further. This particular machine is a double needle 4-thread machine. However, since we're only going to be clean finishing the raw edges of the seams, we only need 1 needle, 3 threads. So that's how I have it set up here. So I'm just going to give you an overview of the machine instead of teaching you how to rethread it, because that can be rather complicated. I'll save that for another lesson. If you need to rethread or put new color thread on, it's always best to cut off your thread up here next to the spools and then tie the new spools on at the remaining thread and pull them through the tension spools here. And now I'm going to give you an up-close look at the overlock machine. Okay, so the first thing that you should be aware of is that you have 2 pedals down here underneath the machine. The first one here on the right is to raise and lower your presser foot, which allows you to get your fabric in under the presser foot. The second pedal is actually to make the machine go. I don't have the machine on. Let me turn it on. And now you can see it sewing. The other pedal that is over on the far left is actually for another attachment that goes to the machine, and that's not currently attached. So these are the 2 pedals that you're actually going to be aware of. Just understand the one on the right only raises and lowers the presser foot here. Most overlock machines set into the table that they're in, and under here there's usually a swivel knob where you can lift it up and this part will open up so that you can actually see the rest of the overlock machine. You'll need to be able to open this up in case you need to rethread it. Now, the reason that I'm not going to show you how to rethread it in this lesson is because it's rather complicated. And I've opened this up and I'm going to actually just zoom in there so you can get a better look. So I wanted to point out a safety issue that you need to be worried about. This piece here that I'm touching with my snips, this is a knife. And this actually cuts off all of these little threads as you sew. It's very sharp. You don't want to get your fingers near that. It's one of the reasons why we have this plastic shield part of it, is to keep your fingers away from there, also from flying broken needles if that happens. But I'm just going to lift this up. So I'm going to sew, and you can see that this will go up and down. Now, there are actually 2 blades to this, and you can't see it very well, but there's a lower blade and an upper blade, and they can both cut you. So you need to keep your hands away from the presser foot area and away from the blade area. Okay, so now I just want to show you how to properly get your fabric into the overlock machine. And remember, I just mentioned that this is the knife, and there's a lower knife as well. You want to keep your fingers away from there. You're going to lift the presser foot, and you're going to slide the fabric under the presser foot up until it hits the needle. And you also want to have your edge of your fabric aligned with the knife. You really shouldn't be cutting fabric off with the knife. All you really want to be doing is that if you have any frayed edges like this here, you want to make sure that those are in the front and that those will be the ones that get cut off. So lift your presser foot, push the fabric underneath the presser foot up to the needle, lower the presser foot, and then press the pedal to make it go. Okay, now you'll have to manage your fabric with your hands. Don't hold on to it and don't push it through. Let the machine easily take the fabric, and you're just guiding it along with the edge of that knife. Now, when you're done, especially if you're at a school, you want to overlock until the overlock hits the edge of the metal plate. You always want to leave a string at the back side of the machine. Otherwise, if it's too short, the threads could actually go back down into the machine, and then you have to rethread it. And that's not something you want to have to do. Okay, so as I mentioned before, if you need to change the thread for a different color, maybe you have white and you're using a black or dark fabric and you want to switch it to the black thread, don't unthread the entire thing. No, that's not good. You want to clip your threads up here, keep them long, Put the new spool on and then tie a knot in those two threads, and then you can pull it through. You'll need to release the foot, and there's a lever here in the back. If you're at a school, I would suggest talking to your instructor about this. And then what you can do is you're going to pull the threads through, and you can pull your tension discs open here to make it a little bit easier to pull through. These two spools here, which go to these two tension guides, are actually the upper and lower loopers. These other two are for the needles. So you really kind of don't want to mess with these too much. Once your school, or once you've got your tension good with a good stitch that looks like this, then you don't really want to be messing with the tension guides too much. But you never want to have to rethread the entire machine unless your a thread breaks or something like that. And like I said, I'll do a more extensive threading of the overlock once we get to the cut and sew courses. Okay, so like I said before, this was just an overview of the overlock machine and how to get your fabric in under the presser foot properly, and what you should be looking for a good stitch. Now, if you're at home and you have an overlock machine, which is probably called a serger if you're in America, then you will probably need to take it to a dealer if you can't figure out the tension. If you're at a school environment, consult with your instructor and to make sure that your tension is correct, and they may need to call out the mechanic if it can't be adjusted properly. But these machines can be very touchy, so the less you touch on it, the better. So now at least you know how to get your fabric in the machine and then how to get it out.